You're joining me tonight for part 3 of The Secret of Langton Manor, which is a print and play mystery game. I apologize for not giving you more advance notice. As you know, I've been a little under the weather. Our session 2 from last night was a bit rough on me. I ended that session. I thought, a mistake has been made. My body is not happy with talking for so long, but I woke up this morning and I felt like the fever had broken. Now, literally, the fever has broken a couple days ago. But today I woke up feeling better than I have in a while. I feel like I'm on the very tail end of it. So we're going to find out if it's a mistake to push your luck at the tail end of a flu. And this is the second live stream of the night, and we've got Friday scheduled and Sunday scheduled. Probably we'll do something Saturday if all goes well, but we're going to see how it goes. The other thing to say is my traditional apology to everyone in the chat that I was yelling at last night when I started to get frustrated about that one puzzle. And I hope those of you I yelled at in the chat, don't take it too hard. Every once in a while I finish a stream and I think, is that going to be the last time certain people ever join the chat? Because they're like, I don't need this in my life. Why am I trying to help someone solve a puzzle and they're yelling at me? But don't take it personally. Just there's a whole history in the world of the idea of a scapegoat. Someone has to be the person that gets yelled at. Otherwise, where does all the anger go? It has to go somewhere. It has to leave me and go somewhere in order for us to continue playing. So anyway, I think yesterday was mostly just a matter of me being, of my body not being happy. I took one of those Mucinex, these things that reduce the congestion, and I really dehydrated me. And one last comment about this. I recorded, and I can see the symptoms. I recorded a series on YouTube of recording board game content in a small studio. A whole series, long series of videos that no one ever watches, talking about cameras and recording. And someone made an interesting point. They said, whatever they said, it's good video, but boy, are you dehydrated? And I was thinking, boy, I am dehydrated while I was filming those, but how can they see it? But it must have something to do with, maybe there's something you can see or swallowing or something. Anyway, yesterday was pretty rough by the end of that. And all the coughing. I guess on YouTube, you pick your poison. Everyone you watch on YouTube has a critical flaw. They're either ethically compromised or whatever it is. And you just pick your flaws, like getting married. Okay. Let's check in with the chat. Jonathan says, where are we going to be now in the matter? We had a very exciting case yesterday, despite some complaints about the puzzles. Our story got very deep. We were just investigating this manor that our friend invited us to. We got locked in the basement by the butler. And all of a sudden yesterday, it was this whole story that dated back 100 years to the butler. He seemed like he was the devil in chapter 1. Chapter 2, he was just a loyal butler until something went wrong. Are we going to figure out, we're going to learn about what went wrong today? I'm quite curious. Jonathan will recognize this shirt I'm wearing. One of the viewers asked at my previous stream earlier in the night. I recorded a tabletop mystery game news segment. And someone asked what this shirt is from, but Jonathan will recognize it because Jonathan recommended this movie to me, which I really liked quite a bit. Perfect Blue, yeah. A movie I would recommend. Okay, here we go. Chapter 3. What's happened here? Did I turn off all the cameras? Is that what happened? Must have turned off the cameras between sessions, or maybe I never turned them on when I did my tabletop mystery news. Okay, anyway, here we are. Everything's fine. Let's read the recap. This is the third installment of a print and play escape room series. While it's recommended to play the first 2 episodes first, it is not mandatory for every player in your group to have played them. To refresh your memory, read the recap below. Previously in the Manor. In the first episode, set in 1922 England, you received an invitation from your friend John to help with the restoration of his newly inherited estate, Langton Manor. Upon arrival, however, the butler, Samuel, locked you in the empty house and vanished without a trace. With no sign of John present, all you found were his notes detailing unusual happenings during the initial stages of the mansion's restoration that made all the staff he hired quit. In the second episode, you found an eerie tree growing in the darkness of the basement, along with archaeological logs from 1842 that chronicled the expedition of Arthur Rutherford, a former lord of the manor, accompanied by his butler, Samuel, in Mesopotamia. Photographs revealed that the Samuel from 80 years ago looked identical to the one you met in the first episode. Hints of a tragedy involving Arthur and his wife Eleanor also emerged. Inside a hollow in the tree's trunk, you found an old headless doll reportedly purchased by Samuel in 1843 and modeled after the Rutherford's daughter Lily. Later, you discovered the doll's head locked in a safe in the basement. I feel like one of the strengths of this channel, both my personal strength and the strength of those of you who join me, is really our perseverance. It's not about speed. It's not about not getting frustrated and irrationally angry, but it is about our ability to persevere and stick through and then recover and reset. That's a good skill in life. That's a little bit of a superpower, to be able to reset from being thrown off track. That's what we're doing today. I feel like I have a little more verve in my reading. All right, so same thing as normal. We use the app to advance. We flip this over, but I see there's something to cut out right at the start. Okay, so don't look at the rest of this. We'll flip that over. Let's just cut out our first little thing here. I wonder what this is. It's odd to have this thing cut out and not tell us what it is in terms of story. I feel like maybe if we were to have some advice for the designer of this print and play game, which you can purchase for $10, the full set of 4 episodes. I guess if I was to have any advice, it might just be to lean into the narrative and try to do a little better job of narratively motivating everything we find. Okay, it looks like a thermometer, huh? A little bent thermometer, though. And what are these lines? Okay, so we know these are symbols, like puzzle symbols. So I wonder if these are going to be telling us what puzzle to use on different stuff. Looks like a snake, says Hexy Girl. Well, guessing that it's a snake is not a bad guess, because look at the picture of episode 3. There's a snake. All right, here we go. Episode 3. Dial in the combination and tap on the lock to verify it. All right, well, that's all fine and well, but we have no puzzle. So I guess we're meant to... I flipped up the pages, and now we're going to take the first page. All right, let's cut it out. We're already starting with a blueprint. I love this little... Boy, I feel like there are really a lot of lessons we're learning. Here's a lesson. You're going to design a mystery game. Here is a lesson. A spatial map that shows you where the puzzles are. So far, this has not been used. These maps have not been used in any way that's functional. But they give you some sense of being in a world and some sense of how far along you are. And we can imagine being locked in a house. It helps. It really does help. Okay, here's our first floor map. Remember, in the beginning, we were on the first floor. We went downstairs. We got locked in the basement. There was a cave-in from the ceiling. And at the end of the last game, we came up through a trap door, either here or here. I forget where. So now we're back on the first floor. Okay, let's see what we've got. Emerging from the chill of the basement, the first floor of the manor seemed almost welcoming by comparison. But beside a mysteriously lit, flickering candle, something unsettling caught my eye. A shed snakeskin, dry and crackling in the candle's glow. A faint vapor rose from it, as if the heat of the flame breathed a ghostly life back into the discarded husk. So I guess this is the snakeskin, I'm thinking. And the word vapor on this piece of paper has got a red border in a trapezoid shape. And here is the picture of the table with the candle and the snakeskin flickering. Okay, so we've got our first puzzle here, the parlor door. Let's take a look. Where is this on our map? So there's the parlor, and here's the parlor door. I guess we've come up out of maybe the trap door here. And so we have to go through the parlor door. I like the idea of making an escape room mystery where you have to physically decide what rooms to go in, maybe choosing multiple paths. We've had a couple of games like that. Escape the Asylum had a little bit of that flavor, didn't it? Where we could choose which room to go into on a floor plan and make some exclusive choices. Let's take a look at our parlor door here. The parlor door stood resolutely closed, its handle unyielding to my touch. Flanking the entrance were two candle holders, their candles unlit and adding to the gloom of the corridor. An empty candle holder was affixed directly to the door itself. Okay, so this is the puzzle. We've got to solve this puzzle with the 3-digit code. Now, you can see already that the candles have different numbers. We've got a candle holder with 2, candle holder on the door with 1, and a candle holder with 3. On the other hand, this one is empty. These are filled. The markings on the floor, but they look like they're unrelated. And we do have the puzzle. So do you think this is just going to be 2, 1, 3? We have encountered a whole bunch of 2, 0, 3. That's a good guess. It's a little bit ambiguous though, like this is, should we be counting the candles or should we be counting the candlestick holders? So in one world, it's 2, 1, 3. In another world, 2, 0, 3. This is the exact kind of thing that I rail against, though. You should not have a puzzle where two equally valid choices present themselves. It's another similarity to Escape from the Asylum. All right, let's try Jonathan's 203 first. So our puzzle, sorry, we should have this view here. This is the view. I got to remember to switch to this view. Okay, so there's our puzzle. It's already open. It's nice. It always starts at the first one. So we think this might be 203. It's either 203 or 213. Let's try this. Okay, so it's not 203. Let's try 213. Yes, 213. I used the candle. Oops. I used the candle from the table to light the ones by the parlor door. Then I placed it in the empty holder on the door. I heard a click. Door unlocked, and I stepped into the parlor. Take the next page. Let's not forget, we need to do probably, I heard us yesterday a little bit by not doing a better job of organizing the pages that we had already played through. So this one surely has an additional use. So I'll put this in one pile for things we know have more uses. All right. Has anyone checked out the YouTube channel that I've been recommending called Watch It for Days yet? Where she goes into depth on each Columbo episode. It is so comforting to listen to while I'm falling asleep. And then I can just rewind it and listen to it again as I fall asleep. All right, so we've walked through the parlor door. Let's do our folding. So here's another piece of advice if you're doing a game like this. Often we turn this over and we don't know where to start. And it feels like it would be good if in each room there was, you know, one page that was the thing you're supposed to read that tells you what you see when you go into it. Okay, this also says take the next page, but I don't want to take the next page until we look at these. Okay, we've walked into the parlor, which is here. And there's the piano. And there's the fireplace. All right, let's look at the piano first. The parlor was dominated by an old piano that echoed the room's faded elegance. Behind it, a library housed numerous aged volumes. Then we've got a little piano score here. There's a note, and then it says, I think it's saying crescendo, C-R-E-S. And then it says P-E-D, which I don't know what that means. Now, what is this note? Is that a G? Someone remind me what note this is. And then we have here what looks like a B and an F. An F. What is that, a flat symbol? Someone needs to fill me in on that. My sheet music reading abilities are very limited. But let's move along a little bit. What is this here? Do we get to read that? I think that's this. Hathaway's Epic of Gilgamesh, a modern translation, Tablet 22, Inanna, Gilgamesh, and the Huapu tree, which looks like the tree that we saw in the last episode. I like how there are classic literature books interweaved into this game. In the distant past, against the backdrop of an ever-changing landscape, there stood a solitary tree known as the Huapu. It made its home on the edge of the Euphrates, nurtured by the river's flowing waters. Cradled in its gentle embrace, the tree flourished. Yet the fierce and unyielding south wind arrived, uprooting the tree. As it tore through the branches, the tree was left bare, a testament to the wind's might, until at last the river carried the tree away out of sight. I don't know the story behind the Epic of Gilgamesh, only that it's sort of famous. Maybe someone can fill us in on the Epic of Gilgamesh. Okay, we've got another word highlighted on this page with the trapezoid, red trapezoid. This time the word is backdrop. And you can see, looking at our previous page, that the trapezoid is inverted here. Vapor and backdrop. So I don't know what that means. Now, if we take a look at the fireplace, it looks quite odd. This is another puzzle. We've got a clock on the mantle without hands, a shoe on the left of the mantle, and what looks like a bowl of spaghetti on the right. In the chilly parlor, a sturdy stone fireplace stood against the wall, filled with neatly stacked logs. Eager to warm the room, I grabbed the newspaper from the table, ready to light the fire and chase away the cold. Okay, and then we're told to get out the next page. But before we do, let's take a look at this stamp that we found. Con 3A, and then some Cyrillic alphabet. Looks like it's a 10-cent from whatever this Cyrillic language is. And on the back it says, I found a postage stamp with Cyrillic letters on the coffee table, partially hidden under a month-old newspaper. So I think we're being led to believe that this stamp was found on this coffee table under a newspaper. Maybe we're going to get the newspaper now. Yes, we are. Look at that. Now, this is what I'm talking about. Here we have no cutting, a full-page newspaper. Now, that's pretty neat. Let's check in with the chat first. Technically, we don't know the note names because there's no clef symbol. The first note is an A half note, with the next two are eighth notes, D and F flat. All right. Perry says, Gilgamesh, half god and half man, was a king in early Uruk. Jamie says, the notes are based on a treble clef. It's supposed to be a bass clef. If it was supposed to be a bass clef, it would be different. Okay. It's all a little bit over my head, but we'll return to it. Let's take a look at this newspaper. The Suffolk Gazette. From Ipswich, Thursday, October 5, 1922. Now that's current day, right? This is when this case is set, 1922. Fine woolens, exquisite quality scarves and sweaters on Main Street. Today's weather, sunny skies, mild breeze, highs of 59, lows of 47. Okay, let's look at the articles we have here. Notorious art thief vanishes from country prison. We have a picture here of Victor Aldridge. Ipswich, Suffolk. In a turn of events that has left the country in disbelief, notorious art thief Victor the Shadow Aldridge executed a daring escape from the Ipswich County Correctional Facility in the early hours of yesterday morning. Aldridge, suspected in the high-profile theft of The Lamentation of Christ, a masterpiece by Sandro Botticelli, from Milan's esteemed Museo di Pezzoli, has been a figure shrouded in mystery. Despite extensive investigations, definitive proof linking him to the theft has remained elusive, casting a cloud of intrigue over the international art scene. His audacity was once again on full display last year when he was apprehended during a bold attempt to purloin Ophelia by Sir John Everett Millais, one of the crown jewels in the National Gallery of British Art's collection. An accomplished artist himself, he intended to swap the painting with a copy he drew, so flawless that it could have gone unnoticed for months if he had not been caught in the act of stealing. Described as a misanthrope by those who know him, Aldridge's disdain for human companionship is thought to aid his solitary ventures. Of medium build, but described by prison guards as sturdier than expected, he managed to escape despite stringent security measures. Authorities urge anyone with information to come forward, assuring anonymity. As his escape from custody reignites concerns about the potential threat he poses to other priceless works of art, the residents of Ipswich and its environs are faced with a far more pressing concern: the presence of a notorious thief in their midst. Inspector Wesley Drummond made a statement earlier this morning. Aldridge is a master of deception, blending into the shadows. We are extending our search beyond Ipswich, as he could be seeking refuge in less populated areas. So is this fellow in our mansion somewhere? Is that what's happened? Okay, let's read this other article. UK leads financial aid to Austria, ensures break with Germany. London. In a decisive stride towards fostering European stability, the British government, alongside allies France, Italy, and Czechoslovakia, has engineered a significant financial pact with Austria under the freshly inked Geneva Protocol. This accord, which includes a hefty loan, mandates Austria's formal renunciation of any political ties with Germany, a move lauded by diplomats and policymakers as a pivotal moment in post-war diplomacy. Then we have an article here on births and deaths. Births in Monroe in Edinburgh to Captain Alistair Monroe of the Cameron Highlanders and his wife, grandson of Lieutenant General Sir Spencer Ewart. A son, Hector, has been joyfully welcomed. Death. Emma Hart. Emma Hart, venerable culinary pioneer and cherished author, departed this life peacefully on October 4, at the remarkable age of 99. Her indelible legacy, interwoven with the very essence of British cuisine, continues through her timeless recipes and the countless culinary enthusiasts and professionals she influenced. A private commemoration will honor her remarkable life. And then we have a cartoon comic of Sherman Homely and the Case of the Missing Pie. I don't think this is a real comic. I don't know it. Maybe it is. Oh dear, someone took my best apple pie. So we've got 3 panels. This is panel 1. It's a woman reading off a sheet with a table of 6 pies, and the detective is on the other side of the table, looking thoughtfully at her while she says, "Oh dear, someone took my best apple pie." On the next panel, we see the detective looking at some footprints on the ground. Size 9 shoes. Quite large for our tiny baker. Now, he's saying they're size 9 shoes. When we look at them, if you were looking at them facing up, they look like they might say 6s. So I don't know if that's him knowing better than us or we know better than him. On the next panel, we see a priest sitting at a table with a half-eaten pie. There's a clock behind him that says 3 o'clock. And the detective's pointing at the priest, and the priest says with a smile, "Just a nibble before tea time, I assure you." That's weird. That's a weird comic. I don't get it. Okay, and then finally we have a little panel advertisement at the bottom from Bancroft Toy and Doll Company, which we know from episode 2 is the company that made that crazy doll we discovered. So in the ad, we've got on the left a little clip art of a doll, a xylophone, and a train. On the right is the logo for Bancroft Toy and Doll Company, and in the middle is a musical score. And these words above it: "Since 1840, crafting treasures for every child's heart. For over 80 years, our master craftsmen have created more than just toys. They've made lifelong companions. Each Bancroft toy is unique and built to last, meant to be treasured and passed down. Now, do we see part of our music on the piano in this thing? So not really. No, our music is not embedded here, but I don't know what this is. And I don't know what this symbol is. I mean, this is tying these two together. I guess this is tying these two notes together. All right, it might be nice. It would be fun if we had some nice AI to play this piece for us. I guess this is like the jingle of the ad. If someone wants to play that for us, maybe at the next break, if you post it in Discord, I can play it. Okay, on this newspaper, we have one word highlighted in red, the word misanthrope, in a red rectangle this time. Now, this is one of these enjoyable moments. These are my favorite kinds of moments in these games, where we have two puzzles, neither of which are obvious how to solve. Like, how do you get 3-digit codes? Now, if I look at this one, though, I think this looks like it's tying to our cartoon, right? Because, like, on the left is a shoe. We saw his shoe was size 9 in that cartoon. Then there's a clock with no hands, but in the cartoon, we saw a clock that faced 3 o'clock. And then on the right, what looks like a bowl of spaghetti is actually a pie. So I think what we're looking at here is a shoe size 9, unless it's a 6. The clock is 3 o'clock. And then the pies, would you guess it was 6, or because someone stole one, the answer was 7? So I suspect that the answer to this puzzle is, if I had to guess, 937. But it's either 937 or 637 or 636 or 637. Got any guess about which one of these is likely to be correct? Now, the way this game has been going, the puzzles must be solved linearly. So that tells us we're not ready to solve this one because the game wants us to move through linearly. Jonathan says if he had to guess, he would guess it's 936. Hexy Girl thinks it's 939. Now, how do you possibly get 939? It can't be 939. There's only 6 or 7 pies, so the last digit is either 6 or 7. It's only a question of whether the shoes are really size 6 instead of size 9, and that's it. So let's go to our overlay. Let's try Jonathan's first 936. So we've got the end puzzle here. Let's try 9. This is believing the detective about the shoe size. 3 o'clock, that's clearly the only possibility. And then Jonathan thinks it's 6, or 6 pies on the table. As I prepared to light the fireplace, arranging the logs and crumpling the newspaper, something caught my eye. Tucked inside the hearth, partially hidden among the neatly stacked logs, was a yellow letter. All right, Jonathan guessed right about that. That's pretty impressive. We are probably going to need this newspaper again, although I'm not for sure. Okay, let's get out our next. Okay. Looks like we've got the use of our trapezoids. All right, so we haven't used this snake skin yet. We haven't used the stamp or these. All right, chat says, did you see Perry's earlier comment about Gilgamesh? And then Jamie says, the newspaper desk, I think that is Emma from part 2. I think you might be right, that was the Emma that was the cook in our case, I believe. Gilgamesh was half god and half man, was a king in early Uruk. Of possible relevance, Gilgamesh sought a plant of eternal life. He found it and then lost it. It was stolen by a snake. That absolutely sounds relevant to our story. I do like the tie-in of this game with some ancient texts. Okay, I think Perry might be onto something about the eternal life. Remember, Samuel looks like he hasn't aged. All right, so we've made it out the parlor door, I guess. And now we are into this hallway. And here is the collapsed floor. The gaping hole where the floor once was reminded me of the rubble in the basement below. The crumbling floor was a clear sign of the house's deteriorating condition. I needed to find something to help me safely cross the gap. I see, it's the whole floor from edge to edge. You need something like a ladder or a panel to cross. And then we've got some pieces of wood here. Digits from 0 to 9. This feels like maybe this is meant to go on here somewhere. Well, let's put that aside for now. Let's see what else we have. We have a journal with some more music. My friend. 13 October 1922, which is a week after the newspaper and in our current timeline. My friend, I find myself in a rather troublesome predicament. We thought this manor was abandoned, an ideal hideout. But out of nowhere, renovations have begun. The quiet refuge is now bustling with activity and prying eyes. If I am not vigilant, being uncovered is a matter of when, not if. For now, our usual method of exchanging messages must suffice, though I harbor some doubts. I'm piecing together a plan to ensure my presence here remains unnoticed. Okay, this sounds like it might be this art thief hiding out in the manor, and it looks like he's communicating to someone through music. Now, he signed it V. I think that's the nail in the coffin. That this is Victor Aldridge, the art thief, who is hiding in this manor. Little does he know the evil that lurks within. But he's using music to communicate. Well, we'll try to figure this out later. Let's look at the rest of the stuff. Okay, in the corner, we have a Chinese vase. Where is that Chinese vase? It looks like it's here. Okay, I get it. We've come out this way. So in front of us here is the floor, but we still have access to this door and this vase. So looking at the vase, we've got a Chinese vase that's got red outlines of 3 shapes, which looks like it would match our words. And then to the right, a whole bunch of tiles with letters on them. At the end of the corridor stood a large Chinese vase with a dragon motif on its surface. It's a classic Chinese dragon in the clouds. Looks pretty cool. It's a Chinese dragon that looks a lot like a snake. So if we go find our other documents that have words outlined, let's see if we can put these on here. So the square was misanthrope. maybe I'll just write them here. Misanthrope is the middle, and the top is backdrop, and the bottom is vapor. Backdrop is this shape here, vapor is this shape here, and misanthrope is this shape here. I could also put tape over it now. How do we make sense of that? It's not exactly clear to me. It is odd that this F brick connects right to it. And it looks like these might be all the letters of the alphabet. Let's just see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 to the 6th. Okay, so on the right, we have every letter of the alphabet. So, I don't know how to solve that puzzle. It feels like we should be able to, though, but we'll return to it. Let's take a look at what else we can see, though, while we're here. So that's the Chinese vase. And then here we have this mysterious door. Let's take a look at this. The door was solid, unyielding, and strangely devoid of any obvious mechanism to unlock it. According to the floor plan, something like a closet was likely behind it. That's a weird statement. According to the floor plan, it looks like there's 2 rooms behind it. I really enjoy this floor plan thing. That's a good lesson to future designers. Okay, well, we're looking at an archway and a wooden door with a panel on the front of it. And the panel has a compass rose in the center. We have seen a compass rose before here on the floor plan here. And in fact, this page references the floor plan. Now, can you uniquely orient this? Like, do we know for sure this is this way and not this way? Is it symmetric? It looks to me like it's not symmetric. Like here on this right-hand side, what you would think of as east is a whole black triangle with a sliver right down the middle. And that doesn't match this. It doesn't match this. This is only in half, though. This doesn't feel like it matches this. Could it match this? Possibly. I'm guessing it has to match this way, but even so, I don't know how to answer this puzzle. So I feel like maybe this one cannot be answered yet, the mysterious door. And here we have the collapsed floor, which we also don't know how to solve. It feels like the Chinese vase is the one most likely to be solvable by us. Let's think about it. I'm feeling much better in terms of spirit. Okay, DJ Moneycut says, I have a theory for the vase. Okay, don't tell me yet. We've definitely decided to play this game not without spending hours trying to break through puzzles. So normally if you have an idea in this game, I would welcome it, but not quite yet. And I thank you, DJ, for playing by the rules here. If you think you figured something out, don't shout out the answer, but say, I think I figured something out, ask if you want a hint. So let's all study this for a little bit longer. All right, let's do our classic thing. If it's not obvious what a solution is, Let's make more observations. So here are a couple observations. Observation 1 is how odd it is that this F is touching this middle thing, which we think is the word misanthrope. Now, misanthrope ends with an E and there's an F. Now, here's another observation. The bricks in this wall here, which represent all the letters of the alphabet, are different sizes. Another observation which feels important is that the order of the letters here is not clear. Like, what does the size matter? Does the order matter? That it's very odd that they seem to be in a random order. At the top we have X, U, Y, then we have an A and B and W, Z. I mean, they're almost like they're close to each other, right? E, U, V, X, Y. I mean, U, X, and Y are very close together. A and B are close together. W and Z are close together. I guess it starts to break down here. F, Q, X, A. You can't trace a route, right? Like the A is far away from the B. This is a K, by the way. It's a little hard to see. So I guess I said the A and B are close together, but this isn't an A. I think this is a K. Well, let me not draw on it. I'll just put a K up above it. But I believe that is a K, not an A. All right. Now, so there's some observation. This F jutting out into the vase seems most peculiar. Now, here's more observations. Somehow, the answer to this is a 3-digit number, right? 3 segments. So I think if you had to guess, you would guess that our answer is going to be a number from here, a number from the middle, and a number from the end. Now, so somehow backdrop is going to give us a digit, misanthrope is going to give it a digit, and vapor is going to give us a digit. Now I have another theory. Let's count how many rows of letters we have and see if we end up with something close to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, some of these letters are spanning 2, but I think those are going to be decoys. So if I had to guess, what I would guess is that the word backdrop is going to give us a single letter. And that letter is going to be in a row, and that row is going to be the number of the digit. Now, how do we get a single letter out of backdrop if my theory is right? What if we colored in backdrop? Might we BACKDROP? Like there's drop, and here's back. Like it's a contiguous. The letters are connected for backdrop. DROP, but in the wrong order. One of the letters is out of order. But backdrop, unfortunately, I'm not 100% sure. It didn't give me a specific row, and that was my guess. My guess that was going to be a row. Does it give us a shape? Backdrop. Yes, it does give us a shape. It gives us a shape of a 3. Can you see that? Look, D-R-O-P. And then here's this. So I think now, I thought we were going to get rows, but I think instead what we've got is for the word backdrop, we've got that's back, and then drop is here. So I think this is a 3. And then our next word was misanthrope. So let's do misanthrope. M. Where is the I? Is that here? Where's our S here? Trope has a T, it has an H. Where's the M? A little hard to see some of these things. Maybe if we zoom in a little bit. Okay, where's my M? Oh, I already did the M. Misanthrope. Okay, well, here we've got OP. Where's our E? Did I already do it? There's our E. There's our R. Okay, it looks like we're going to get it too. Misanthrope. Yeah, there's our 2. And then we have vapor. So there's our A. There's our O and P. There's our R. Is that our V? This must be our V because there's the W here. So VAPOR is a 0. Now that is a cute little puzzle. That is a cute little puzzle. But the best part about that puzzle was how we could make observations, especially about converting these into 3 digits. All right, let's go ahead. So we've got the puzzle, which is this puzzle, and 3, 2, 0. I peered inside the Chinese vase and saw something nestled within. Carefully reaching in, I pulled out a few items. A page from a journal, 2 old postage stamps, and a map of the manor grounds. So we've already got 1 postage stamp. Looks like we're going to get some more now. so far, the puzzles in episode 3 have been my favorite. Hopefully I'm not speaking too soon. Looks like that's what DJ and Perplexed were on the same path of. And Perplexed Puzzlers points out that the F was a red herring in that last puzzle. All right, let's see what we've got here. We start out with a postage stamp. This one from Canada. Canada postage, 12 pence. It's like it's sitting on top of a sketch of some sort. The stamp featured a portrait of Queen Victoria, its black ink still vibrant despite its age. All right, let's combine these two. I guess they're both sitting in front of something. This has a 10, this has a 12. Okay. And here's another stamp. The other stamp again depicted Queen Victoria, this time in a somewhat faded blue ink, accentuated with still vivid red. So it's India for Venice, which is red. We've got we're told one is red, one is blue, and one is black, and they all have numbers. Okay. Now we found a map of the manor grounds. Let's take a look. So here we are in the manor, trapped. Then outside we've got the stables, the garden, the orchard, and the greenhouse, all sitting around a water fountain. And then farther in the distance, we have a lake and a boathouse and manor grounds. And we're told to cut out this lake. And here is again our compass rose and some shading at the bottom that I don't understand. So let me go ahead and try to cut out the lake from this. Not sure these scissors are the best tool for this. Investing in a good pair of scissors is something that can improve your life. I definitely recommend it. But I wonder if we need smaller scissors for this task. We'll see if this works. I remember to switch to that view. All right, a little rough, but maybe sufficient for our needs. I've cut out the hole where the lake is. All right, well, surely we don't need this yet. And then the last item here is what? It's a diary entry on for Saturday 14 October 1922. The workers must be dealt with, or this hideout will no longer serve its purpose. After observing their routines and superstitious chatter, I've devised a plan that plays into their fears, turning the manor's eerie reputation to my advantage. I'll start with subtle disturbances, a shadow flitting past a window here, a mysterious draft there, perhaps even the odd, unexplainable sound. The key is subtlety, enough to chill the spine, not enough to invite thorough investigation. The aim is not harm, but to convince them this place is better left alone. Okay, so this is Victor, our art thief, hiding out, and he's come up with a plan to get rid of all these workers at the manor, to scare them off so he can continue hiding. All right. So we've got stamps. We've got a plan of the outdoors. We've got 2 postage stamps. But now we have to figure out another puzzle we can solve, and I'm not sure which that would be. So why don't we take a break? We'll come back. We'll see where is the weak link we can attack. I'll see you in 8 minutes. All right, we're back. We've got a couple of puzzles that we could try to attack, and we have to decide which one we can attack next. We've got the music puzzle from the piano. We've got the collapsed floor with the wood, and we've got the mysterious door. And here with the stamps, we have blue, black, and red. And then we also have this little guy. Now, if you were just to look at this and guess which one can we attack next, we do have several piano pieces, but the way this game works, it has to be something that just got unlocked with our new content. And this door looks a little like this door, and this has a compass rose, and this has a compass rose. So if I had to guess, I would guess that this is the one that we could attack next. So let's take a try at that. Let's put these aside. And let's see if we can make progress on this mysterious door. Now, obviously, something has to shine through this. I'm not sure what that would be, but could it be like, look at this half of the compass rose, and this is the other half. So I wonder if it's not a matter of putting this right on top of the other, or else, yeah, because look, here is a full compass rose, here's half, and here's half. So if we were to put these right on top of one another, I don't think it works. But is there some other... Is there some way to use... Remember, we need a 3-digit number here. And that does not look like a number. Of course, I haven't cut this out perfectly, but I wonder, I mean, clearly we're on the right path. Right? I mean, clearly that's what we're doing. We're combining these two to get this something, but what, is there a different way? Is there a different way to put this? And is any of this relevant? We need to get 3 digits out of this. I don't know if there's any reason to assume that these have to go side by side. Maybe it's meant to shift somewhere else. And it makes sense. Let's see if the chat has any ideas. It does kind of look like a number. I see 2 numbers there anyway when it's overlaid if you kind of squint. And Jonathan says, yeah, I have a guess. It looks like maybe that's a 7. And maybe that's a 3. Sorry. Maybe that's a 7. And maybe that's a 3. But then what would it be? Like, would this be another number here? Like 173? Is that what you think it is? 173? That's what the chat thinks. That's what Jonathan thinks. Okay, let's try 173. It's pretty neat. It's barely there, but it's maybe there enough. 173, says the channel. All right, let's give it a try. There's our puzzle for the mysterious door. Channel says 173. That was it. I realized the compass on the door could be turned. Carefully, I rotated it to match the exact arrangement shown on the maps. With a final precise adjustment, I heard a soft click. The lock disengaged and the door swung open, revealing the hidden room beyond. All right, good teamwork. Hidden room beyond. So far, the puzzles in this part 3 have been quite enjoyable and not frustrating. Okay, so where's our floor plan? So we've gotten ourselves into this door. We solved the Chinese. We've done these. I wonder if we should track what order. I guess we went like this. We haven't done this one yet. Okay, so we've gone in here and we haven't done the piano yet. And now we've gone through this door and we're into here. There's the overgrown doorway right here that we're up against. I was standing in front of an old wooden door covered by thick overgrown roots and vines emerging from the inside. The door wouldn't budge, firmly held in place by the entangled roots. A note was attached to it, and the note says, Lily's drawing holds the key, and it's got V's initial on it. So I guess this is this note pinned to the door. Lily's drawing holds the key. I don't know if we've found Lily's drawing. Okay, and here we have another journal entry. Thursday, October 19, 1922. The corridors are silent again. My tricks and shadows worked. The tales of ghosts and curses scared the workers away. The manor's old legends hold unexpected power. But there's a complication. John, the new owner of the estate, remains. Unlike the others, he's not swayed by unexplained noises or fleeting shadows. There's a resolve in him, a determination to see this renovation through. Or perhaps something more. I need to tread carefully now. Observing from the shadows, I must gather more about him. For now, the plan holds, but John remains an unpredictable element. So this is our art thief hiding out. Now we have a full sheet of music. It's just a little tickle in my throat. So if I had to guess, I'd guess maybe we can do the music puzzle now. And maybe from the music puzzle, we'll find the drawing that holds the key. So let's take a look at the music puzzle pieces. We've got a lot of them. We believe he's using it as a code. This seems tricky, though. So for the piano, we need a 3-digit number. Somehow, this might be a 3-digit number. Well, we have 3 notes here. Would there be a way to get 3 digits from these 3 notes? But what would all of this mean? So I noticed a couple things, like this segment here matches this segment here. I think. Maybe it doesn't. Let me look at this again. Looks very close. Okay, so the third note is on the line, and then if I look at this one, is the third note on the line? Yes, it is. Okay, so those 4 notes match. These notes match these notes, which is an odd thing. But then everything goes off on its own. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 segments. Two segments, 1, 2, 3 segments. Six, 7, 8, 9, 10, 0. That's too many rows. How are we gonna get 3 digits from this? Without trying to solve it, how do we even get 3 digits from here? The most obvious way is to get a digit for each note. How would we get a digit for each note? Can we find this pattern in here? Would that help us? I don't see it. What does PED mean? Let's look at the chat. Kind of weird that Victor don't mention the butler in his notes. PED is likely telling the musician to use the foot pedal on the piano. I think you're absolutely right. That is the foot pedal. You wanted to see, someone wanted to see the, should we see the hole with the 4? Here's this again. Of course, we don't know for sure that the music puzzle is the next one to do. But surely it has to be something that uses this. Unless we've got a drawing by Willie, which we don't. So I believe that this is the only one we really can do. Let's study this page a little bit more. Oh, you wanted to see this one, to see if we could be able to do this one. The nature of the game suggests that we can't do this unless we use something new that we just got, which would be this. So unless we think that this or this goes with this, it seems unlikely. So I feel like it's going to be the piano. All right, well, let's use our trick. Let's take a look and see what we can observe. Jonathan says, I think I have an idea for the music puzzle. Can give you the general type if you want, the general type of puzzle. Okay, let me just look at it for a second before you help us, Jonathan. So one thing that's interesting is that on all of these different musical pieces, well, most of them at least, we have notes about crescendo and pedal. I find that very interesting. All right, just looking at this. This feels like it should be the key for us. What is it trying to tell us? 1, 2, 3, 4 measures, or whatever you call them. We've got very complicated stuff. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We need to get 3 digits. Well, this is quite so. All right, this is so far the puzzles in this episode have been quite good. So let's think. Let's think for a second before we get hints. This guy is mentioning how our usual method of exchanging messages must suffice. So it seems like he's talking to someone. We don't know who. Maybe the butler, actually. But he seems to be using these notes as his secret code. So more hints that there's a secret code. We think we're going to get 3 digits from this. We do have 3 notes. So we would expect a digit for each note, perhaps. Seems like this is the key, but not clear how. We don't see this specific measure anywhere, which is troubling. What about this measure? I don't see that. Actually, we do kind of see this here, but not everywhere, not the whole thing. Actually, this here is this, which is this. Like if you call this A, and we have an A here. I'm just using the A as an arbitrary symbol. But there it is. And here, this is here. So if this is B, we have B here. And then here, if this is C, we have this here, C. And then what would that mean? And we don't see this pattern anywhere. At least I don't. Tempting to think we could have a letter for each of these. Money. All right, I'm not sure. Jamie says the next part is on the last part of the sheet music. So you're saying this. Yes, you're right. This D is here. And then this E is here. So we're seeing all these patterns repeat. But what does that mean? Where's this one? Oh, this is our B again. Could these map to letters? Could this be a 5-letter word? I mean, if this is the only note here, then that looks like that X over there. And then this is this one here. So this matches this. And this matches this here, which is just this X. But it's sort of not good that this would match to one thing, because we need 3 digits out of it. But what does it mean that we can line all these up with these? Okay, well, here's one theory. If we could assign numbers to these, digit numbers or letters, then if we had a way of doing that, then we could get a translation. I'm not sure how to do that, though. All right, let me check in with the chat here. DJ Moneykit says, I think I see something. And Jonathan said, I have an idea for the music puzzle. Can give you the general type. Okay, let's hear what both of you guys see and think. And then maybe we can take a hint if none of those work. It feels to me like the flavor of the solution might be that this is a key mapping sequences to letters or numbers. And that maybe this would help us, like if we knew what word this was spelling or what number. Like I wouldn't, if this was 1840 1840, but it doesn't seem, it's like too many letters or numbers. Since 1840, crafting treasures for every child's heart. This doesn't seem like the right set to map into letters or numbers. Jonathan says, I think it's a tracing puzzle. Can give more explanation. So I think what Jonathan is saying is, find the pattern and draw lines between them. And maybe something gets filled out, but how would then this give us 3 digits? Like, how do you get 3 digits out of tracing that? Or do you think we're meant to trace all of these and that will get us 3 digits? Like if we circle every instance of B, C, D, E, B, like if we circle those, B, like B goes to C, and we said C goes to D, and D goes to E, and E goes to B. That's a 0. So is this digit the digit 0? And then if we did a similar thing here, so that sounds like what Jonathan was saying. And when we do that, we get a 0. So now the next one, we said this one is an A. So here I think maybe the trick is to look for all the A's, or should we be looking for these notes that I didn't find yet? So did we find these? I guess here. I called this a Z. Let's call this a Z. There's a Z. And here's a Z. And here's a Z. And then here's a Q. And a Q. So these are all like this. And then our A is here. Do we think that's a 7? PP is a specific note, so it's this A, not this one, you're saying. And this crescendo PED here is only this one. And this one is this one. Okay, so that's a good point. Okay, so there's a 7. Okay, 0, 7. Zero, 7. And now, do we think that this one... Okay, so let's look for this one, which I labeled as an X, but I labeled this an X, but this has PP and this has crescendo. So we should look for a crescendo G, or whatever that note is. Which is this one here. So this is surely going to be a 1, right? So it's probably going to go right down here, which is right where it is. So that's a 1. Okay, good work. Very good work. Well, we had some of the pieces of the puzzle by noting that these were to be found. It was a clever observation that I was being too general, and that actually each unique note matched that. So now a question is, what order do we take these 3 things in? These have dates. This is October 5th. This is October 13th. So clearly this comes before this. But how are we supposed to know whether this date is before or after? This was the room that we found the newspaper in. So clearly the 0 comes before the 7. But when does this one come in? Let's see. I don't know how music, but it is interesting that under the picture of the piano, we have 2 notes, in the letter 3 notes, and in the newspaper 4 notes. That's a very clever little observation. Is it though? In the newspaper, we have 5 notes. In the newspaper, we have 5 notes. It's not even notes. We have 5 measures. In 1, 2, and 1, 2 notes, two sequences, chords, or however you want to call it. 2 here, 3 here, 5 here. That goes against the date ordering. I don't like that. I suppose we could just try it in that order. So we're thinking 170. If we go by the number, the length of it, it's not a bad idea. I don't love it though, since we have dates on 2 of the documents. Feels like we should be ordering by dates, but we can give it a try. So this is the piano puzzle. If we order it by the length of the measure, we get 170. Okay, let's try this. If it doesn't work, we'll start to think about whether it might be by date. Okay, so that's not right. So if I had to guess, I would guess it's by date. That makes the 07 in that order. 07. So then we either have a 107 or 017 or 071. I'd rather not just guess those, though. There has to be a way to date this one. I suppose you could just assume this is last. Like we would just be guessing. If we guess this is last, we get 071. That's wrong. I find this irritating. We've seen this problem with this game several times now. We've tried going order of the shortest to longest. We tried 170, and I just tried assuming that the piano was last. So I just tried 071. We have only 2 more to try unless something else is wrong. Assuming the dates are right, but we really don't know. We don't know what it wants from us in terms of order. What about looking at the digits here? Can you sort of say that the 1 is at the topmost, then comes the 0, then comes the 7 if you're reading it top to bottom? That would be 107. I'm going to try 107, but I don't like this. I find this upsetting that we're now guessing the order because you could come up with a justification for any order. But could the 1 be something else, says Jonathan. Could I be getting the 1 wrong? All right, well, that was the answer. It was 107, which has the piano first and then the other 2 in date order. Or you could argue it's 1 because that is at the topmost row or the leftmost, and then comes the 0, which is next in the 7. It's just unfortunate. It would be nice if we could go back and look at the hints, but you can't. It's one of the weaknesses of this system that you can't go back and look at hints. All right. As I examined the musical scores left on the piano, I noticed something hidden between the pages. Carefully pulling them apart, I discovered another stamp, a diary page, and a child's drawing tucked inside. Okay, that's creepy. All right, well, the piano puzzle itself was pretty cool, but the order was not. All right, let's see what we got. Oh, we've got a drawing by Lily, the kid, that we think may have died. All right, another stamp. I thought there was only going to be 3 stamps. Now we got 4 stamps. Then we have Lily's drawing. All right, let's take a look. Here's our stamp. It's a 30 stamp. The stamp featured a bold numeral 30 within an ornate frame. Its unique and unfamiliar design gave no immediate clue to its country of origin, adding another layer of mystery to the growing collection. And here's our journal entry from our art thief. John's behavior grows more peculiar by the day. Heard him speaking to the empty air more than once, addressing someone he calls Samuel. Okay, so Samuel is not even really there. There's no one there, at least not that I can see or hear. Isolation, or is it the Manor's lore seeping into his mind? I must admit, the atmosphere of this place tugs at my own curiosity. Even I find myself drawn to the silent call of the Manor's mysterious past. Okay, that's creepy. That is creepy. All right, now let's look at Lily's drawing. She's drawn the manor, nothing particularly strange about it. Lily drew this today as we spent the afternoon in the garden. While she worked with her pastels, I tried to teach her to count. She shows surprising artistic skill for her age. Eleanor, that's the mother. July 2nd, 1849. I tried to teach her to count. I wonder what that's about. Is there some counting that's weird? I mean, I see different number of top squares on the different chimneys. All the windows have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these on the right, 1 not colored. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these on the right differently. Line. So most of it looks fairly symmetric. It's only up top that looks a little weird. I wonder if, well, let's look. The puzzle that seems, both of these seem to hint at this nonsense at the top of the chimney caps. And you can see there's 3 smoke squiggles, and here we have 5 smoke squiggles. And then it seems like this is the puzzle we can do next, where it says Lily's drawing holds the key. Firmly placed by the entangled roots, a note was attached. This is a puzzle. We have to come up with 3 digits here. How would we get 3? Lily's drawing holds the key. And here's Lily's drawing. This looks like a little letter, like a letter E here. But we're trying to get 3 digits. How do we get 3 digits out of this? So there's 4 smokestacks. There's some shading here that looks like this is the letter E. Lily's drawing holds the key. Like perhaps if you thought this was a 4-digit number, you might guess like 3. There's 3 smoke. There's 2, 5, 5. You might guess like 3, 2, 5, 5. But there's only 3. The note says Lily drew this today while she worked with her pastels. I tried to teach her to count. Harry, let's see, we've got 2 comments in the chat. One, Jonathan says, if we flip it so the E becomes the 3, can we see any others? So there's the 3. That's a clever idea. This kind of step back, kind of looks like at first glance, looks like it might be a 5. And this looks like an 8, like 3. But could this be anything? Like, why am I seeing a 5? Not sure I could justify that. But you could definitely see an 8 in the emptiness here. But the other thing we could look at is that's a very interesting idea, Jonathan. But I don't know if I could really justify. So one possibility is 3, 5, 8. Maybe you see something different there. That is locking into the idea that this looks like an E. I suppose the other thing is you could look at the number of shaded in things, like 1, 2, 3, 4. That could be a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That could be a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you just looked at the shaded bricks, you'd get 5, 6, 4. I don't know why you would decide to look at those. You might as well be looking at these. TJ says, I noticed the drawing uses the same color as the stamps. That's an interesting observation. Perry says, I see a 6 in the middle. 3, 6, 8, says Perry. Okay, as far as colors of the stamps, I don't think that quite works. I mean, we've got stamps that are blue, red, black, and then something else. The game also tells you, this is a little bit of meta information, but the game tells you you don't have to print in color. So I think that would invalidate that. But it is an interesting idea. I am tempted to try the 3 something 8. Although it's a little illogical that we're using the empty spaces for the 8. I think we should try 368, 358 and see if that works. If it doesn't, we'll consider something else. So let's just try that, and then we'll try to think harder if that's not right. So for this puzzle, we think it could be 3. You think you see a 6 there? 3, 6, 8. Which is 3, 6, and then the 8 here, the empty space for the 8. Okay, that's not right. What about my 5? That's not right. All right, well, it was a good try. It was a good try, but it's not right. If we count the colored bricks, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The only reason to count these colored bricks is because this oddly uncolored one doesn't seem right, though. Doesn't seem right, but okay. I'm gonna try 5, 6, 4. I don't like any of these, but I feel like we're in the stage where we don't trust this game to have a unique solution. No. Okay, well, let me hypothesize that the answer is likely to do with the top stuff. Now, if we said that, how would we get 3 out of that? That's the part that's not going to work. We've got 4 things. How would we get 3 numbers? Okay, well, the other biggest clue is this. Any other ideas? Should go back to the mother's comment that she can't count right. I don't remember the mother saying that. What does the mother say? I tried to teach her to count. I tried to teach her to count. What if it's the... I was trying to think the number of things colored differently, like 4 red, 2 dark blue, 2... There's no real sense to that. All right, let's be logical about how do we get 3 digits. It does seem like 1, 2, 3. That seems like the logical way to get 3. That we've got a number here, a number here, and a number here. So here's a theory. Here's a good theory. All right, ready? We were flipping this upside down to get this dark shaded 3, but isn't there a 3? Isn't there something in white? If we just look at the white, are we likely to get like, it almost looks like we've got a P here and a 3 here. But that's not really a number. It does seem like it would be more likely that we're getting 3 digits this way. This almost looks like a backwards 4. Like, this bottom one looks like this. This one looks like this. This one looks like this. I just look at the whites. Uh, maybe 803, looking at the white space, doesn't quite work. I mean, this is shaded in. The white space doesn't give us a full 8 here. And that would be a very bad design if we were supposed to go over, ignore this. Trying to teach her to count. We definitely have 3 numbers here, and if I had to guess, I really would guess there's 3 digits. Would be odd to turn the house upside down. Hmm. Lily's drawing holds the key. Holds the key. Trying to like squint at it and see what I see. Should we take a hint? I think we need to take a hint. Look at the architectural sketches inside the diary entries. How can those relate to the drawing by Lily? That's an interesting thought that never occurred to us. Look at the architectural sketches inside the diary entry. So we've got 3 architectural sketches. And this actually would be an interesting way to think about it. Like we have dates, so it does give us an order. So are we looking at number of door panels, number of window panels, and number of smokestacks? So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2, 7, and 4. Or if we're supposed to count these, it looks like you could maybe argue for 5. And then maybe doors, you could argue for 1. Okay, so that's clever. The one, I mean, that's a little hard to, that's pretty hard to make us do that. But the one thing I do like is that we do have a natural order. But we would have a natural order this way too. So if you had to guess, would you guess that doors are 2? That's what I would guess. 2 panels in black. Windows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then smokestacks, I'm guessing 4. But you could argue it's only got 1 door. But let's go ahead and try that. So we got a little penalty for taking a hint there. But let's try 274. You can let me know before I enter this whether you think that's the right guess or if this should be a 1. All right, let's try 274. Okay, it doesn't like 274. So let's try 174. Yeah, okay, so only 1 door. All right. Well, I wouldn't call it a fair puzzle, really, but I would call it forgivable with a nice hint. But I wouldn't say I particularly think it's completely fair, just because it's so ambiguous. There's so many other possibilities that it could arguably be. But let's continue. As I brought Lily's drawing near the door, a deep rumble echoed through the manor. Floorboards trembled beneath my feet, and the entire house seemed to shudder in response. The roots began to twist, detaching themselves from the door with a series of eerie creaking sounds. Perhaps the vibrations from my movements, combined with the delicate balance of the old house, triggered this strange reaction. Next page. All right. I think we probably need to take a break here. I'll see you in 8 minutes. Okay, we're back. We are playing through The Secret of Langton Manor, episode 3 of 4. We're going to play episode 3 tonight. We'll finish in another hour or two, and then episode 4 is going to have to wait because tomorrow we're playing Mockery Manor Part 2. Now, one of the things we've done while we're playing this print and play escape room is taking the opportunity to offer some constructive criticism. And I think that last puzzle was a great opportunity to give some constructive criticism, especially since there's a little bit of division in the chat about whether that was a good puzzle, a fair puzzle or not. And I said I didn't think it was quite fair. And I do want to spend a minute here to talk about why I thought it was unfair and how to fix it. So the key to why I think there's a flaw in that puzzle has to do with ambiguity. So we know clearly, what we know about this puzzle is that these two clues. Lily's drawing holds the key. So we look at this and she says she's trying to teach her daughter how to count. These are the things that we know are connected with this. And then conceivably, every other document we've seen throughout the game could be related. In actuality, these 3 journal pages are key to solving this puzzle. We know it has to be a 3-digit answer. And so, assuming that it can be done with just these 2, which is the starting basis of our assumption, we tried to figure ways to get 3 digits out of this. And you could see we went down a rabbit hole of thinking that this might be a 3. Maybe it's upside down. Maybe that's a 5. Maybe that's an 8. Maybe we're meant to count these. Maybe we're meant to count something else. When we took a hint that suggested we use these 3, one nice thing is we got a natural order by the dates. But even when we got the order, we said, okay, sorry, this goes like this. October, October, October. 14th, 19th. Okay, so we got this. I think this is the right order. And once we got that, we thought, oh, then it became fairly clear what it probably wanted us to count: the doors, count the windows, count the chimneys. But even with that, we said, okay, does this mean 2 door panels or 1 door? The windows were clear. Does this mean 4 smokestacks, or does it mean we should count the total little pipes coming up? So the real problem here is the number of permutations. And you saw when I put in 2 for this, it says it's wrong. So we ended up trying a whole bunch of possible permutations until we got it. So if you came to me with this puzzle and you said, look, here's the answer. The answer is these 3 things in this order. And you have to figure out to pull out these journal entries from previous. What I would tell you is, okay, that could be a very clever puzzle. Here's the first thing to fix. The first thing to fix is it's an interesting and hard enough puzzle to go and dig through these and sort them by order and then count is a hard enough, interesting enough puzzle that you should reduce the random permutations that a person has to try to get it wrong. So the first thing is you would fix these ambiguities. You would have this door be only a single door and have it shaped like this door. There's no need to have 2 panels. And likewise, for the 4 chimneys, there is no reason to have different counted things on the chimneys, you probably think, oh, let's make it harder by making these more distractions. But that really doesn't make it harder in a fair way. It makes it harder because of all the new permutations that have to be tried. So I would say make this a chimney, get rid of the pipes, and get rid of the different pipes on each of these. And then I would say get rid of the shading. And then when the players looked at this, they'd say, what on earth? How on earth are we supposed to get 3 numbers from this when there's nothing that looks like numbers? And I think then eventually they'd pull these up, especially if the door looked like this shape. And then they'd eventually make that aha click and say, okay, I'm supposed to count these. And there would be only one way to count them. There would clearly be one door. There would clearly just be 4 chimneys. So that would be my advice. Don't make things harder by creating more potential random permutations that would all be reasonable. Okay. With that said, I mean, you may disagree with me. That's my opinion. Okay, so we've gone into the overgrown doorway, which was where? Here. We've now gone into this room where we see a trunk. We're now in this closet and we've discovered a trunk. A wooden travel trunk stood quietly in the corner, its lid covered with labels from past travel. On the side, an old shipping manifest bearing the address of Langton Manor suggested an abrupt end of the journey. So, Washington, D.C., March 1858. So we've gone back in time, and here's another date up here. It looks like 1852, maybe. And here we have Montreal, January 1858. So they went to Montreal, Canada. Then they went to Washington, D.C., and then we're told there's a shipping manifest suggested an abrupt end of journey. I don't have a manifest, but what we do have is another stamp, 10-cent stamp. This modest green stamp bore a stately portrait of George Washington encircled by a decorative border embellished with stars. No mention of its color. We can see it's green, but we've just got a 5th stamp now with a number on it. Okay, now, what else do we see here? A ladder. Oh, there's the trunk. Look at all these roots. Thick roots had overtaken the room, stemming from a corner near the window and sprawling across the walls and ceiling. Nearby, a ladder leaned against the wall. So, here's our ladder somewhere in here going up. If you had to guess, you might guess that this is going to be the last puzzle we solve. That's going to bring us up to the 2nd floor. But no guarantee there. Then there's some extra pieces here, which we have nothing to connect them to. They look like they might actually connect here. Possibly. A little big of a coincidence that they line up so well here. So we might try and see if this is 147. There is some symmetry, hole going down, ladder going up. But first, let's look at this. Hathaway's Epic of Gilgamesh. Here's more Gilgamesh. Tablet 22, Inanna, Gilgamesh, and the Halupa tree. So it's more tree story of Epic of Gilgamesh. As the years unfolded, first 5 then 10, the tree matured and thickened, yet no foliage graced its trunk. Beneath its sturdy roots, a serpent that no magic could charm made its nest. High among the bare branches, the anzu bird sets its young. And within the solid trunk, the shadowy maiden Lilith established her domain. Now remember, the daughter's name is Lily. Inanna, once merry and full of laughter, now wept. Despite her sorrow, the creatures clung to her beloved tree, refusing to depart. Now, O Gilgamesh, I call upon thee, not as the king of Uruk, nor as the hero who quests for eternal life, but as... And then it ends. So Gilgamesh and his tree of eternal life. That's creepy. We got a snake and this woman inside it, the shadowy maiden, and then here is Inanna, who's weeping, and the Anzu bird. What a crazy fable. Okay, Jonathan is saying something about this being the ladder. I mean, there's only 2 legs on the ladder. I don't know what the hell this is. I guess rungs of the ladder if you hold it vertically, maybe. But these rungs of the ladder do not match how these rungs are inset, so I don't know. The stuff at the bottom of the ladder card, I think, is supposed to represent the ladder. If it is, it's poorly drawn because it does not match this. I think it's supposed to represent putting the ladder over the hole to cross it. Oh, you're saying if we put the ladder across the hole, I think that makes a lot of sense. We did talk about when we got this card that a ladder would let you cross it. So you're saying this ladder is not taking us to the 2nd floor. It's being used here to cross the gap. That I get. Okay, so we think the answer here is 1, 4, 7. If you put it this way, across, it doesn't quite line up. Okay, let's try 1, 4, 7. But I do think that explains better. This is not a puzzle. You can't go up to the 2nd floor. So much for that idea. All right, let's lay it across this hole. Let's lay it across the hole. It is weird in this game how some puzzles are easy and some are hard. That was it. I placed the ladder carefully across the gap on the floor and cautiously stepped onto it, crossing the chasm. Reaching the other side, I found myself in the large hall of the manor, where a grand staircase spiraled up to the 2nd floor, beckoning me to explore further. Oh, we are going to the 2nd floor. Okay, where are we? So we've gone across the chasm, and now we're in the hall. Oh my God, is this Samuel we see now? I'm terrified to see Samuel. Hopefully it's not Samuel that we see. I think maybe we're just seeing a reflection. All right, I see we found another stamp too. What's the name of someone who collects stamps? All right, let's take a look at this. Well, no, we don't want to look at the stamp till it tells us. Let's see. So we walked down and we see now a strange mirror, which is here. Expecting to see my reflection in the large mirror standing against the wall, I was stopped in my tracks. Instead of my face, the mirror showed my back. Puzzled, I noticed a faint dark mark that fit on my jacket in the reflection, as if forming some sort of code. I took off the jacket, but the marks were not actually there. Excuse me. So this is what we see. And we've got words here. Mark, fit, code. So that sounds like another tracing puzzle, doesn't it? M-A-R-K. M-A-R-K. And then fit, F-I-T. This is cute. C-O-D-E. So what's cute is we're looking in a mirror, so it's reversed, right? So this is a 2, a 4, and a 7. If you reverse it in a mirror, you'd see it 2, 4, 7. Okay. So we believe that the answer to the strange mirror code is 247. Perry says a numismatist. A numismatist is coins. The philatelist is stamps. I'm pretty sure, says DJ. Okay, there's our strange stamp puzzle, but let's see what else we see here. Another journal entry. The attic has been my refuge, but this cannot last forever. I move only at night, but today I descended to the hall to spy on John. This is written by Victor, the art thief. The grand staircase dominates the room, its imposing presence a stark contrast to the decaying surroundings. I found a hidden vantage point on the second floor, allowing me to observe without being seen. I am really liking these journal entries. Boy, if there's one little trick to making a mystery compelling, it's give the player little journal entries. Okay, and then we also found this stamp. Black 1-penny stamp. I recognize this stamp featuring the likeness of a youthful Queen Victoria as the penny black, the world's first postage stamp issued here in England in 1840. Wow, first postage stamp from 1840. The world's first postage stamp showing Queen Victoria. How cool is that? We got a bunch of postage stamps, and Victor is hiding on the second floor. The only puzzle we know to get past now is the strange mirror. All right, here we go. So it's this puzzle that looks like a fishing lure. Or a tadpole, maybe you would say. 247. As I stared at the reflection, trying to reveal the code, I noticed faint lines beginning to form in the mirror. Suddenly, cracks started to spread rapidly across its surface. With a loud crash, the mirror shattered and fell to the ground, shards scattering everywhere. Behind the broken glass, hidden within the frame, was an old map. Okay, that's intriguing. Whoa, a full-page world map. This map is more than a plan, it's a lifeline. Each dot represents not just a destination, but a step towards healing. I must leave Langton Manor, the place that holds so much sorrow, and embark on this journey alone. Perhaps in these distant lands I'll find a way to fill the void. May the winds carry me to peace and understanding. Arthur W. Rutherford, January 1st, 1858. And we know his trip came to an abrupt end. Okay, let's take a look here. Western Hemisphere, Eastern Hemisphere. And it looks like, what? He's starting here. And then we've got a plus, an X, a minus, an X, and a minus. So arithmetic operations on stamps, probably, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6, which matches the number of stamps we have, I believe. So we have 6 stamps. And this might be a little bit of a clue of 2 of the places. Okay, let's see. This is cute. All right, so let us get out our stamps and order them. 6 stamps, each with a number value. I'm going to get rid of this 1840. This was the first stamp. All right, now I guess we're going to have to try to read this map to know where he went in what order, right? I mean, here's Canada. So the trunk stickers show that he went to Canada first and then to Washington, D.C., I think. So I'm guessing Canada is first and then George Washington is second. That's my guess, because this was in the first year of his travels. That's my guess, but let's see if we can be more specific about reading this. So there indeed is the word Canada. So that was his first trip, is hitting Canada. And then next up is the United States. United States. Okay, now his next stop is here, South America. We need to be more specific about it than South America. All right, which of our stamps is South America? It's not India. It's not Britain. It could be the mystery country, or it could be Cyrillic letters. No. So maybe it's our mystery country. Let's keep going and see if we can figure out. What's the next stop? What does that say? Where are we here? It's the Indian Ocean. Is that India there? My geography is pretty terrible. What country are we in here? Indonesia? Is that what it says? No. Hindustan? This must be India. Okay, India is this stamp here. So let's put that as our fourth. 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess 1 is a 0. Really? So I'm going to change that 1, 2, that's 3. So I'm going to call that stop 4. Oh, but then we've got 2. I guess he's starting out in Britain with the first stamp. Okay, so I guess the start is Britain with the first stamp. And then he goes to Canada, then America, then the South American mystery country, then India. So then what's our last stop? Is this going to be Russia, some Cyrillic country? Where are we? Is this Turkey? What is this? It's right next to the start. So this would be right next to Britain. What is this country? Europe. More specifically, Anna says it's Russia. Okay, so I believe we have our maps. We have our stamp order, and the mystery one is South American. Maybe if we stare at it, it will look more South American. By process of elimination, that has to be that. Okay, now we have our orders and our numbers. So let's write them out. The first one is a 1 plus Canada was the next trip. The Canada Post is a 12. The next up is America. That's a 10 cents. And the next step is our mystery South America. That's a 30 minus 30. Then multiply by our India, which is 4, minus our Russian one, which we said was 10. Okay, so here's our equation. Now, if you were doing normal associative properties, you would group these, but presumably these are one step at a time. So I think 1 plus 12 is 13 times 10 would be 130 minus 30 would be 100 times 4 would be 400 minus 10 would be 390, which looks like a 3-digit code. 390. Let's double check that. 1,330, 100, 400 minus 10, 390. So it looks like our code for this puzzle, which made use of all these stamps, a map, is 390, and the chat agrees. 390. And where do we put that? It looks like it's the answer to the trunk puzzle. So we get our 69, 390. That's a cute little puzzle. As I opened the trunk, my eyes were immediately drawn to an old medallion lying among the contents. Okay, let's put these away. Take the last page. Okay, here we go. An old medallion in the trunk, huh? Whoa, look at that medallion. That's creepy. The clay medallion was encircled by a serpent with eerie gleaming eyes. At its center, ancient Sumerian cuneiform symbols were etched into the clay, their meanings a mystery. And here we are at the grand staircase. As I approached the grand staircase, my eyes were drawn to an unusual snake-shaped candle holder mounted on the wall. Its design was unnervingly lifelike, coiling with an almost sinister quality. That is sinister. And then we've got here, without any explanation of where it's come from, another journal entry from our art thief who's hiding out in the house. I can scarcely believe what I witnessed tonight. My hands tremble as I write this, the chill of the encounter still gripping my spine. From my hiding spot, I watched John in the main hall, speaking to Samuel again, as he often does, addressing the empty room with a mix of frustration and desperation. Until now, I was convinced John was losing his mind, talking to nothingness, a phantom of his imagination. But tonight, everything changed. As John pleaded for answers about the manor's previous inhabitants, my eyes wandered to the large mirror in the hall. There, in the reflection, I saw Samuel. Tall and lean, he stood beside John. His eyes were deep set and cold, and his presence was unnervingly real, though completely absent in the room. John continues his one-sided conversation, seemingly hearing responses that I could not. I could see Samuel's lips moving in the reflection, though no sound reached my ears. Then, as John stormed off in frustration, Samuel's reflection did something that made my blood run cold. It turned and looked directly at me. His eyes seemed to pierce through the glass, seeing me clearly despite the shadows where I hid. I stumbled back, fear gripping me, but that gaze is seared into my mind. Can it be John is not the one losing his mind? The thought terrifies me, and I can no longer trust my own senses. That's creepy. All right, so here is our final puzzle. Now, what have we not used? First of all, where are we? We're here in the hall, and we're at our final puzzle, the staircase going up. The main thing we haven't used is, you guessed it, the snake skin we saw. Now, assuming this is everything, I feel like here's our likely 3 digits, right? This is a digit, this is a digit, and this is a digit. So the weird thing is these lines here that crisscross these guys. Well, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Almost 9 digits. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 0 through 8 or 1 through 9. That's a little distressing. Are we meant to do another tracing? This is an interesting situation we have here. Like, how is this 2 symbols together here? And what would that mean, that there are 2 symbols close to each other? Oh no, that's just 1 symbol. All right, that's good. So We've got some possibilities. Should we make this into a circle? It's an interesting idea. Like we could do this. We could make a loop here. Or we could make a loop and try to connect all of these. Doesn't really work though. But let's try to do this. I feel like this might be drawing another shape for us. So this one is here. If you were to draw that, let me just see what this would look like for a second. So if you were to draw that shape, you get this line. And then if you were to connect it on the left to this shape, that doesn't seem like means anything. And then if you were connected to the triangle, you get that. It doesn't look like anything. Three digits. And somehow, look at this picture of the snake. I mean, that feels like maybe it's telling us wrap around. That's tempting. Like wrap the head around once, twice, 3 times. Like, should we be curling this up in a way that lines up these 3? I wonder, like there, that would line up these 2, or at least in a connecting line. Then can we get that triangle in here? It almost gets the triangle in there. I mean, I can if I make this very tight. The triangle is going in the wrong direction. Is that because I'm supposed to reverse the direction? Well, that's weird. Intriguing, though. If I go backwards, going the wrong way, though. How am I ever going to get this to go the right way? This one's in the wrong way. Okay. So then this is in the right way. Now the triangle's in the right direction. Okay, this almost feels like it could be it, but what are we doing with this? If I curl it up, what do I get? Do I get a digit out of this? Maybe if I flatten it, it'll make more sense to us. I can either flatten it, I think I gotta flatten it connecting them. Let's just try this. If I just force these down like that. Okay, if I do that, this is this middle row. What do we get? What do we get out of that? I just curled it up and flattened it. I like the idea that this is right, basically. But remember, it's not supposed to be flat. It's supposed to be curled up. It's got to be these lines, right? Got to be these lines. What are these lines giving us? Is that a digit somehow? Should we only be seeing... Should we only be seeing if it was curled? This line, and this line. That's supposed to be a 7 that we see? Surely not. Jonathan says he sees a 7. I don't know how on earth you are seeing that. I can barely see it. It's right in front of me, but I'm just trying to remember that it's supposed to be curled. So possibly the only thing that we're allowed to see is this line, but could it also be like this, so that we see this, and then this? Boy, that is rough. But then here's the other thing. If this idea is right, then what is this thing all alone? How do we get a number of all alone? Would that be just a 1? Should we be reading it at this angle? Where's the angle here? So we should be reading it like this, right? That doesn't really make sense. Maybe we should be reading it like that. So maybe he has to be on the right-hand side. But that doesn't work to get me these guys lined up. Well, I don't love it, but let's see if we can get this one. Curling on a stick. I mean, that's the alternative. I could put this around something, but I don't think we're gonna get... Doesn't really wrap around that way. Okay, let's try to do this one. I think we have the right idea here. So that's this one. And then it curls over to do this one. Maybe this is easier to try to make sense of. So, assuming that we're supposed to be using the lines, if we make this, what do we get? I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. Get the idea that we're supposed to be twisting this around, but should we be using these lines to tell us stuff? Should I be not lining it up exactly? Should we be folding on these lines? That's an interesting idea. I like your thinking, but if we do that, that would certainly make life easier if we're not twisting it, if we're folding it. Weird things happen. Let me try it, and then maybe we'll get a hint if it doesn't work. I mean, things are getting a little weird here, but all right. Interesting idea to fold along the lines. It's getting kind of insane. I folded along the lines, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to connect anything if I do that. All right, let's go for a hint, because I think otherwise we're just playing with stuff. Okay, so this is our puzzle, and let's take a hint. The medallion bears a serpent symbol. Remember the shed snake skin you found earlier? There might be a connection between the two. Yeah, you don't say. Use the cuneiform symbols from the medallion to determine where to fold the snake skin. There are 3 groups of symbols on the medallion. Okay, so we figured out the basics of it right, but it seems to be suggesting that it's folding, but only fold it there. So maybe it's as simple as this. The first fold gives us this. The second fold is here, and here, and here. So that looks like it might be the figure 8. Although, yeah, that's folding them all towards that. I suppose if you folded them all the other way, you would get another 8. Okay, and then the third line is to fold here and here, which looks like it might be a 2. All right, so it looks like DJ was essentially right about the idea, although we were trying to curl it around and connect them. We had the right idea about the 3 digits, though, so I think what we're looking at was 1, 8, 2. So there's our 2 with the head of the snake, and then our 8 was doing them all here, here, and here give us our 8 snake. And then the 1 was right here, which I guess could also be a 7. But probably it's a 1. Anna thinks it's a 7. All right, well, it's a 1 or a 7. Let's try Anna's guess first, but I think we know we're on the right track here. Okay, so Anna thinks it's 782. Nope, that just means it's 182, which was my original guess. I took the medallion and the folded snakeskin, aligning the symbols. To my surprise, the candle holder began to move, the snake's mouth opening as the candle within lit up with a strange, eerie light. Holding the glowing candle, I ascended the grand staircase. The shadows on the second floor seemed to retreat. The way forward was now clear. Congratulations, you have completed the 3rd episode of this escape room adventure. All right. Well, that was quite enjoyable. I think if I had to rank the episodes, this would be at the top. 3, 2, 1, probably. I like the ever deepening plot. Now we have an art thief losing his mind in the manor. I do think it's got there's a little bit of a concern that we're dealing with a lost TV episode here, where things are just going to get weirder and weirder and never be explained. But on the other hand, we do still have explanations coming as to the original story of the original owner. But who is Samuel? What role does he play? Are we going to find our friend John? What's going to happen to the art thief? Are we going to get an explanation for what happened to Lily? Will this have a happy ending? All of that remains to be seen. Okay, so we're done for tonight. I had a lot of fun. I appreciate the company. Episode 4 won't get played until, well, not tomorrow. Tomorrow we're switching gears, finishing up Mockery Manor. Completely on the opposite side in terms of production. But I am enjoying this, and I am looking forward to the 4th episode. We're going to have to decide when to play episode 4. We could end up playing it on Monday evening, or we could try to get it in on Saturday. I guess I'm tempted to keep the same basic schedule so that whoever's joining me, if this is a good time for you, it will continue to be a good time. So unless you hear differently from me, we'll play the 4th episode on Monday, but you should stay tuned to the channel because it's possible we'll play it Saturday night or Sunday night, but more likely Monday. I don't know. You can always join the Discord to stay up to date, or the Board Game Geek Guild. I cannot promise you're going to get too much advance notice, though. But we will do it at 10 p.m. So you can just check the channel near 10 p.m. in the following days to see if that's when we play it. It looks like we're all sort of warming up to this a bit. DJ Moneycut says, it had its ups and downs. It's growing on me as the episodes go along. Motto Rose says, very interesting puzzle game. Curious to see how it all plays out. All right. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow night for Mockery Manor. Good evening.